Hello, SICW wrestling fans, and welcome to this week's edition of SICW All-Star Wrestling. As I mentioned to you last week, promoter Herb Simmons still under the weather a little bit, getting stronger every day and ready to get back into the studio. But in his absence, he sent someone to help fill the void. Your SICW Classic champion, the Big Texan. Tex, welcome back to the SICW studios.
It's my home away from home. I'm starting to love this place.
Well, when Herb Simmons can't be here, it's always great to have you here filling the void.
No, I don't know if I can fill his shoes, but I'll give it a try. That's all I can do.
Absolutely. So we want to talk a little bit about what's been going on in SICW and the big things that are to come. You know, the past several weeks we've been showing some recaps of some really big SICW events. And I want to take a step back to when we visited the Chase Park Plaza. We were there in the Coruscant room, the place where Wrestling at the Chase was born, and you got to wrestle underneath those lights right there in that ring. What was that like?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually want to take you one place back further, the MAC. And I only want to do this because the MAC has always been the closest thing that we ever got to the Chase Park Plaza. And so every time we wrestled there, we'd be like, man, I wonder if this is what it would be like to wrestle at the Chase. And then, then we get the opportunity to wrestle at the Chase. And I can't tell you what it was like because the atmosphere was just so electric. Knowing everyone who stepped foot into that, to that ring, to that area, to look up at the chandeliers, the original chandeliers of the place. Herb jokes about when we're all in there and we were all setting up the ring, that he heard some noises when we were setting up the ring posts, and talking about how it must have been the ghost of wrestlers past. And, 100% I believe it, just as soon as you walk in and the lights are dimly lit, and even when I was wrestling, because when I was wrestling, unfortunately, when Fender had me laying on my back for a few seconds, not 3, but just a few, and I was looking up, I almost didn't kick out at one point because I was looking up.
Kind of amazed by the ambiance of the room.
Right, yeah. So, it's definitely an electrifying place to wrestle. Probably once in a lifetime dream for us, too. So.
Absolutely, and I know it was on the bucket list of Herb Simmons to get in there, and he'd love to wrestle there every month.
Oh.
And but to get to share a room of people that were there like Harley Race and Ric Flair, going back to the days of Pat O'Connor.
Right. Yes.
That room was wrestling nostalgia, and now you're a part of that. You defended and won the SICW Classic Wrestling Championship there.
Yeah, so you couldn't ask for a better night. You go in there, never wrestling at the Chase before, always a dream to wrestle there, but going there as the champion, and then it's even sweeter when you leave as the champion. So,
well, speaking of, we just recently saw you went back to the MAC, the Missouri Athletic Club, as the champion,
yeah.
And you walked out as the champion. Little bit of
controversy.
Little controversy in that match. The match actually started on the stage in the entranceway, and
well, that's one of the things you got to worry about when you're wrestling Attila Khan. You don't know who's going to be out there helping him, and Stephen E., his manager, actually distracted me, and we were on the stage. I was trying to walk down. He was walking up. So I turned my attention to him, and that's when Attila got me from behind. But yeah, you just never know. And any kind of match you have with Attila is a hard-nosed match. There's not really wrestling scientific stuff going on there. It's I'm going to pound on you, you're going to pound on me, and someone at some point is going to give.
Yeah.
And that's in a nutshell. But even at that, we had people that normally you don't see on his team. You had a Sean Vincent come down, a Peyton Ayers, he was in there. But Sean had no business being in there, but he had to come down and get involved. I'm just lucky, as you guys seen, that Gary Jackson was there and that Niles Plunkett was there to have my back.
Absolutely. Well, it was definitely a good time at the MAC. Can't wait till they sign next year's match at the MAC. I know that's always an exciting one for you guys to go to each and every year.
Yes.
And we get to bring some of the legends. That night was no different. Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart was there. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was a night to definitely remember.
So Jimmy Hart, he's like our best friend of SICW. He's right along with us. He's our ride and die, star. But Jake the Snake, that is someone who I idolized growing up as a kid. Everyone knows, when we talk about the history of me growing up, I was a WWF kid, and Jake the Snake, Hulk Hogan, people like that. Those are the guys that I idolized. And just to be able to be in the same room with him, I got to meet him, shake his hand, thank him for basically opening the door for all of us wrestlers today. But just to be in the same room, it's like he's got this aura about him. Plus, with all the stuff that's out about Jake, he's probably like one of the wrestlers that you can truly, you truly think you know him because there's so much stuff documented about him. So it was almost like wanting to talk to my grandpa. It was that kind of a relationship. And he was a great guy to talk to. So if you ever get a chance to meet him, definitely it's worth your time going up there and talking and shaking hands with him.
Absolutely. And he brought another friend with him in Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, well, I won't repeat his phrase, but it's very cool to meet Hacksaw because Herb had brought Hacksaw in once before, and it's a funny thing too because I literally had a picture taken with Hacksaw and one of my youngest sons, and this time around I brought that picture to him, and he goes, "Well, let me autograph it." And then someone else says, "Well, let's take another picture." So I have a picture of of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It was funny, but it was his idea. So
hey,
yeah,
that sounds like a great time. So definitely some great experiences at SICW, going places you never thought you'd go in professional wrestling.
Yeah. Let me take a back to the MAC because the MAC, the atmosphere is just unrealistic. That's always what we compared, what we assumed Wrestling at the Chase was going to be like. But the MAC, it's like a smoky type of area because the gentlemen are all smoking cigars, and of course they're all dressed up to the nines. The guys are in the suits and the tuxes, and the girls are all dressed up. And there's plenty of chandeliers too, so it kind of gave the aurora of, I don't even know if that's the right word, but of what Wrestling at the Chase was going to be like until we actually got there. And then you can see the separation. They're so both cool. Both places are so awesome and cool, but you just Wrestling at the Chase, you just can't beat that.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a step ahead. Mm-hmm. Obviously SICW is taking December off.
Yes.
Got a busy 2023, but we're going to hit the ground running in January. And January 13th of 2024, SICW is returning to the Belle Claire Fairgrounds, and the main event has been announced. A man you talked about your battles with, your recent battle at the Missouri Athletic Club, Attila Khan. Yeah. Attila Khan is being locked inside a steel cage against none other than the Night Train, Gary Jackson.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting because you got two local legends going at it. I've already explained to you that Attila is not a scientific wrestler. He's going to basically throw punches and even whip out a fork or two, on occasion. So you got to be prepared for that. But Gary too, man. He's a guy who his name was given to him by Bruiser Brody. Gary is the ideal legend in this town. So he knows all the tricks of the trade. He knows what to look out for. There is one thing that I don't know if he knows everything about, and that's Stephen E.
And Stephen E. will be there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure Stephen E. was going to be there. Anytime you got Attila locked in the cage, that I would treat it as like a chicken with the head cut off. They're going crazy. All he's going to do is go crazy and try to eliminate his opponent, which was Gary, or try to get out of the cage. So I don't know how it's going to work.
Well, the promoter recognized that. He recognized that Gary might be at a disadvantage.
Okay.
So he's actually announced a special guest referee that's going to be there that night inside the steel cage. Coming back, somebody you're familiar with, Danny Boy.
Danny Boy. Oh my gosh. So I mean, moons ago when I was actually training, so we're talking 20 plus years ago, Danny Boy is one that actually came in and helped me. He wasn't the head trainer back then, but you know, he would pop in from time to time, and I'll tell you a story. Danny Boy was the first person who's ever knocked me out. We were in training, and it was one of those nights where you had to stand in the middle of the ring, and everyone else, whether it be the trainers or the other students, they would circle the ring, and one by one they would hit you with whatever move the trainer called. And this particular time, it was clotheslines. You know, something I know a lot about, clotheslines, lariats. But back then, I can't say that I knew too much about how to take them.
You learn quickly.
Oh, I learned very quickly. Well, probably I learned the day before when I woke up. However, so I'm the guy that's in the middle, and you know, one by one, they're hitting the ropes and giving me their clotheslines. And Danny Boy, like I said, he had just popped in just to see how all the rookies were doing and how the training was going. And you know, they decided to, you know, come on up, you know, show them what you got too. So I'll tell you, he hit the ropes, and you know, Danny Boy's not the tallest gentleman, so I don't know if it was the act of him having to go up, but when he went up, he like got me in the neck area, chin area. I hit the mat, I was gone. The head trainer looked at my eyes. He goes, "Hello, hello, you in there? You in there?" And I knew that my eyes were all glazed over, and they said, "Oh, well, you're going to have to sit out for a while." You know, so they rolled me out, had me sit on a bench until I was actually coming back to for my senses. You know, but Danny Boy's a hell of a guy. I gotta give him props. You know, he's the type of guy that'll call everything down the middle, but he won't take anything from anyone else. So if he knows you're cheating, he's going to stop it.
So if you were locked inside a steel cage against Attila Khan and Stephen E on the outside, you would be happy to have Danny Boy there.
I would be thrilled to have Danny, just because I know he ain't gonna, you know, help me out in any other way. Like, he won't cheat for me or do a fast count for me. But I do know that if he catches, you know, Stephen E cheating or Attila cheating, that he's going to be on my side and help stop that, so we can have a nice, clean-cut fight.
Well, there you go, fans. Saturday, January 13th at the Belclair Fairgrounds, we're going to get to see Attila Khan versus the Night Train Gary Jackson. Locked inside that steel cage, Stephen E on the outside, Danny Boy on the inside, and the rest will be up for you to come join us and take a look at that. Champ, your match hasn't been signed yet for that night, but...
I just might have an easy night.
I don't know. I don't see you as the kind to step away from a challenge, so I'm sure whatever the promoter throws at you, you're ready to sign on that dotted line. And
well, you know, it's great to have the month of Christmas, of December off for Christmas and New Year's and everything, but I've already been counting down to January 13th. You know, when you're wrestling like we were, you know, twice a week, you know, your body gets used to that. And then all of a sudden when it stops, and yes, your body needs that break, but then you're like, you know, after a couple days, maybe a week, you're like, oh man, I'm ready to go. Let's get back on this train and you know, keep trucking along. And so, yeah. You know, even though I say I might have an easy night, you know, whatever Herb or whoever wants to throw at me, I'll be game for.
Well, can't wait to see what's announced for you. And Saturday, January 13th, get a hold of SICW 618-286-4848. Reserve your seats for January 13th because you're going to want to be in the audience that night when Attila Khan takes on Gary Jackson locked inside that steel cage.
Hey, I got to chime in. Sorry. You remember when Attila was going against Haku? My God, that was a bloody, hell-raising match. You never know. You know, Gary's pretty strong and pretty tough, so it just might be a repeat of that. You know, nice, big, brutal match. It'll be fun.
It's definitely going to be a good time. Well, Champ, let's talk a little bit further into 2024. We're going to take a few months ahead, but we are on the road to FanFest 2. And you got to be a big part of FanFest 1.
You know, it's FanFest 1 was just amazing. You know, I couldn't ask for a better night. And then this year, they're making it 2 nights. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's just crazy to me. So what, the first night we got...
We're going to get there. We're going to talk about what's going on. But before we do, you know, we've just talked about the big event on January 13th. So let's talk first about the award that's going to be given there, the Sam Muchnick Award. Already announced, the man giving that award this year is none other than the Night Train Gary Jackson.
Yeah, so, you know, hopefully he gets the better of Attila in January so he can be there to receive his award, because I would hate for Attila to knock him out for that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the Night Train will do everything in his power to ride into FanFest 2 and accept that award. I mean, being the third recipient of that, last year, Darla Staggs was the recipient of that, and prior to her, the very first ever Sam Muchnick Award winner was the widow of Bruiser Brody, Barbara Goodish.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's definitely in the right echelon of people. You know, Darla Staggs, you know... You're talking about one of the nicest persons you ever want to meet. Plus, you know, I hear the story many a times, I can almost recite it by person, that, you know, when she was born, literally that day or the next day, she was at wrestling at the Chase.
Yes, maybe even born in the Coruscant room.
Right, yeah. So, you know, so she was a wrestling fan since day one. And has, if anyone ever got to meet her, you know, she's pretty good in there with the CAC. So I mean, she's always been a wrestling fan, and she's trying to take care of the legends at the same time. So
yep, yeah, definitely. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Barbara when that comes, because you know Barbara is always great to be there with us. Always presents the winner of that Bruiser Brody Battle Royal with that Memorial Cup, and it's always great to have Barbara Goodish in the house. And she is already booked to be there this year, and we'll see who. Maybe she'll be handing you the cup this year.
Hey, I've won it before, and I tell you, it's a great feeling being a fan of Bruiser Brody, following his career. I mean, if you go into my house, you know, I have just about every wrestling figure of Bruiser Brody, whatever T-shirts I can get my hands on. Of course, the book that she did with Larry Matisek. So I've been a Bruiser Brody a fan all my life, and then to win that Rumble and and have her come in the ring to hand you that trophy. Plus, it's not something that you have to give back, you know, as soon as you get out of the ring. That's your trophy until you have to defend it the next year.
Yep.
I mean, that's something special right there. That's a daily, constant reminder of the achievement that you had that night.
And Herb Simmons is telling me he is getting calls and messages from wrestlers across the country wanting to be in that Bruiser Brody Battle Royal.
I believe it. I mean, last year we had a guy from Texas. We had a couple guys from Memphis. We had some from Florida. Yep. You know, Dory Funk's guys were down there. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely the who's who of wrestlers that want to be in this thing, because everyone who was ever a wrestler or is currently a wrestler knows Bruiser Brody and knows how much that he has meant to wrestling.
Very true. So let's take a moment and talk about the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Part of this big FanFest weekend is an induction into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we've got some great names that have been announced going into that Hall of Fame this year. We're going to start off with the man Harold Koppler.
There's no wrestling at the Chase. It wasn't for him. You know, he's the one that who actually made that handshake deal, you know, on the plane with Sam. And if it wasn't for that handshake deal, and I just got to say, you know, it wasn't in paper, it wasn't a contract, it was a handshake. That's when, back in the day when your word was your bond, and they kept that going.
They did, with Harold Koppler being the owner of Chase Park Plaza at that time. Where better to have it than right there in the Coruscant room. How about the ace, Cowboy Bob Orton Jr.? Some say maybe an overdue invitation to the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh, I think so. I mean, he's lived here for at least the last 10 or 15 years of his life. And you know, I have the opportunity of being with him every Tuesday night down at the Ace Academy. You know, so he's helping train the new talent coming in. And for someone who's lived here, who has, you know, basically handed over his son Randy Orton to the WWE, another St. Louis wrestling legend, and to train all the guys coming up. I mean, he is St. Louis.
Absolutely. And how about Lalani Kai? Lalani Kai being inducted in the Wrestling Hall, one of the great women wrestlers here from here in the St. Louis days.
So, you know, women do not get they don't get top billing. Not even top billing. What am I trying to say here? They don't get the credit that they deserve. That's the best way to say it. Because back in the day, women, I hate to say it, they had to work harder than us. They had to prove over and over and over again that they can wrestle. You know, otherwise other people would just consider them jokes or just an attraction. So they had to work their butts off to just get seen, and she did amazing.
Absolutely. Well, Champ, I have it on good authority to say that that's probably not all the inductions that are going to happen this year.
Well, that's good.
6 months to go. There could be another one or two coming out of the woodwork here of inductions to be announced to the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
You know,
and right here's where you're going to find out when those are.
That's great. Then I'll be tuned in. You know,
yep. Every Sunday night, 8 o'clock, we're going to keep it going on this road to the FanFest 2. And like I said, I have it on good authority to know that there's another one or two coming.
That's awesome because I tell you, Herb has a lot of things in his back pocket, and it always surprises the hell out of me. And especially this FanFest 2. You know, because when we had that first one, I thought it was just going to be one and done. You know, that was going to be his thing. He threw it out there. 48 legends or 48 plus legends came there that night. I mean, it was amazing. It's probably the best night I ever had. Of course, I also won the SICW Classic Championship that night. However...
And you still plan on holding it and defending it again, hopefully.
The only better way to top winning the belt at the FanFest is defending it and keeping the belt.
Absolutely. Well, now let's get in a little bit to that FanFest weekend. And it is going to kick off on Friday night, May 17th, with the one-man show from none other than Bill Apter.
That's great. Last time he came in, it was his birthday, and everyone sang happy birthday to him. And, you know, somehow there was a pie in the face, and you have to go back in the archives there to look. But it was a fun night. So I just can't imagine what this one-man band thing is going to be about.
Well, if you remember last year, he sent a video because he wanted to join us at FanFest 1, and he had some prior obligation, a wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And you know, couldn't make it in because it was his wedding anniversary, Mother's Day weekend, lots of other things going on. But he made sure he got that video there, and he talked to all the great fans at FanFest 1. And now, FanFest 2, he's going to do the Friday night one-man show, and that's an important VIP event. There are limited seats available for that. It is a separate ticket from the entire FanFest weekend. So you want to go to SICW.org and reserve your seat to that Bill Apter one-man show just to see what he has up his sleeve.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in those things because... you know, our friend Jim Duggan did a one-man show in St. Louis not too long ago, and I went to that, and it was just crazy. Just listening to all the stories. So come on, Bill's got a lot of stories he can be talking about. I mean, he's been behind the scenes for every promotion, so it's going to be great.
Absolutely, and then now let's head into Saturday, May 18th. The FanFest, 10 o'clock in the morning, doors are going to open, and you're going to get to meet and greet with some of the greatest legends. And Champ, I just want to walk through some of these legends that have already been announced and see what your feedback is on some of them coming in.
Sure.
Some of them I know you've met before. Here again for SICW, the Rock and Roll Express.
So the Rock and Roll Express, man, I mean, they were rock stars back in the day. I mean, they had the perfect name, Rock and Roll Express. They were rock stars. As soon as they hit the ramp going to the ring, I mean, the fans just went crazy over them. I got to meet them in the CAC. Great guys. They actually offered the autographed turnbuckle for me. So I mean, awesome guys. It'll be great to meet them guys there.
How about the Birdman, Coco Beware?
So that hits my heart as a kid too. Coco Beware. Big WWF guy. You know, just having him when he was going to the ring with his bird, you know, and that bird is flapping, you know, it's just great times. And that brings me back to my childhood. Can't wait to meet him again.
I got to meet him in person the first time last year at the Cauliflower Alley Club, so I'm glad Herb was able to pull this one off and bring him to FanFest too, because it's definitely going to be a good time.
Oh, and he loves to talk, so if you ever get his autograph or be able to shake hands with him, that might be the last thing you do, because he will talk your ear off.
Let's talk next about Wildfire Tommy Rich.
You know, most of these guys have got the perfect names for them. You know, Wildfire Tommy Rich. And it explains that he is wild, he's crazy, and the name happens to be Tommy Rich, so it's perfect. I love this guy because you never know what he's going to say, you never know what he's going to do. I had opportunity to help teach a seminar with him. So him looking over my shoulder, making sure that I'm teaching it right, you know, to his level. And man, that guy was crazy. You know, the stories he told us and the people we were training at the seminar. Met him back in Iowa too. He's a great guy.
Well, speaking of unpredictable, just announced this week Abdullah the Butcher.
So, man, what can you say about him? I mean, I've seen so many tapes of him and Bruiser Brody going at it. The bloodbaths they used to create. You know, even back in the day, Herb had that match.
Dupo High School.
Yeah, Dupo. I would have loved to have been there. But you imagine having that match on a floor that was just recently redone, because that's what happened there. I couldn't imagine. I've been like, here, let me have this match before they destroy it. But yeah, crazy man right there. Met him plenty of times. He's another one that you just seem to know everything about him because you see him wrestle. You know, back in the day, it was all about trading tapes to see who you wanted to, you know, to see the next guy or the root for the bad guy. So you trade tapes, and you know, almost every tape had a duel on it. So it's always good to have him back in St. Louis.
Absolutely, and another guy great to bring back. One of the nicest guys I ever met when we had him in before, the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah, I mean, see, all these names match. You know, the Boogie Woogie Man. You know, he'll get up there and he'll still dance to this day.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's crazy.
A gentleman you mentioned a little bit ago coming back to join us for one of several times he's been here, Haku.
You know, Haku, it's such a weird thing, too, because Haku, if you hear all the stories about him, about being this really bad, and you don't want to mess with him. And it's probably true. But I know a different side of Haku. I mean, Haku has been basically, you know, I called out Jimmy Hart being like the best friend of SICW. Haku is right there too.
Yep.
Because we broke bread together, ate breakfast and everything, and was just talking the business. And he still has a great mind for the business. I mean, he is just a legend that everyone should meet and needs to meet because he is I hate to use the term sweetheart, but he's a sweetheart as long as you don't mess with him.
So you said that the best friend of SICW, the Mouse of the South, Jimmy Hart?
Oh, yes, easily.
Guess what? He's coming back.
Oh, my God.
FanFest too.
Yeah,
it would not be a FanFest without the Mouth of the South.
It wouldn't be, because I tell you, he pretty much took the microphone last year and held court with it, because he was pretty much talking everyone through everything that day.
He even pulled a fast one on Herb and gave Herb that award for all of his years of dedication to St. Louis wrestling.
Right, yeah.
So another great wrestler in the business, somebody I wouldn't want to mess with, Dr. D. David Schultz.
Yeah, you don't want to. I mean, I would shake his hand, and I've shook his hand and met him before, but just watch what you say to him. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some great NWA talent coming to support the FanFest #2. First one being NWA superstar Tim Storm.
See, now Tim Storm, he's a great guy. Met him. You know, he was actually a heavyweight champion for the NWA for a while. Matter of fact, he's a multiple-time heavyweight champion for the NWA. Plus, if you guys still follow the NWA, I mean, he is right there still. You know, he commentator / wrestler. So if you want to talk about someone who's still in the trenches with us, Tim Storm is.
Absolutely, and already announced that he's going to be there and in action in some kind of way. We don't know. The match has not been signed yet, but Sal the Pal Renero is coming.
Yeah, so I can almost, in theory, see who he's going to wrestle. The previous guy that we talked about. And I say that just because if you follow the NWA, they are actually having words right now. So if it doesn't come peaceful terms pretty quick,
We might have a full-blown NWA match at FanFest too.
Just might.
Well, definitely wait and see that.
Yeah.
And that match might need a special guest referee, and who better referee that than the legendary referee himself, James Beard, has been signed for FanFest too.
I tell you, me and James have been talking pretty much on a monthly basis now because, the Von Erichs movie's coming out, and he was a big part of WCCW, being one of the refs down there. And he's actually in the movie too, because he plays a ref in the movie. But I had the privilege of actually having him ref 2 of my matches before. And it's... we got time for another story?
We got time for any stories you want to tell.
All right, so I love this story because, I'm following Attila. Wherever he's going, whatever organization he's going to, I'm trying to go there because this is at the point where I'm trying everything I can to get to the SICW Classic, strap. And so we follow him, I follow him down south, and it just so happens to where I get it to have it rigged to where it's me and him that night. And James Beard is going to be, we are just going to have a regular ref. I get there early enough where James is actually holding a seminar. And he's talking about how he has been reffing so long that he could just look at a wrestler and know that he wants to referee that match. That he doesn't have to referee the main event. That if he senses something about a wrestler or 2 wrestlers, he would rather referee that match because he knows it's something special. Well, I tell you, when I was getting geared up, ready to wrestle Attila, he come up to me, he goes, "What match are you?" And I told him I think I was 5th, and he looked at his sheet. He goes, "Man, I got your match." And then a couple of minutes later, he comes back. He goes, "Hey, I got it switched. I got your match tonight." Yeah. So to have a guy who was not even talking to me at his seminar, he was talking to all the students about how he can tell by looking at a wrestler that match is going to be great or even better than the main event. And for him to come track me down, tell me this, and then make the correction to where now he is reffing my match, there's no better feeling than that. And he actually reffed the match against me at Attila again at FanFest 1. So, James Beard, man, you're watching this, thank you.
All right, well, as we continue on FanFest 2, you mentioned Cauliflower Alley Club earlier.
Yep.
And a gentleman that's going to be great to have with us, the president of Cauliflower Alley, B. Brian Blair, will be in attendance at FanFest 2.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Like I said, I broke bread with him before too. A lot of these legends I try to hang out with and try to learn from, and he is one of them. Again, he's been everywhere. He was in the AWA, WWF, and he is such a nice guy too. Because whenever I've been around him, it's always been, "Hey, is everything okay? Is everything going all right?" He's just a great guy overall. Absolutely.
Another tag team that's coming, kind of affiliated with B. Brian Blair at one point, the High Flyers, Greg Gagne and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell.
Yeah, so I actually seen that. I was like, wow. So it's almost like a 6-man tag we're creating.
Killer Bees and the High Flyers.
Right. But Greg Gagne, he's a great guy. Spoke to him. He just came out with a whole bunch of wrestling, vintage wrestling line that Bruiser Brody was in, and Stan Hansen was in, Kerry Von Erich was in, and even the great Lou Thez was in. So he's when you're talking about old school wrestling, AWA was a place where it was at. And Greg, that was his dad's place. Man, his dad's name is escaping me, so that's kind of
Greg Gagne's dad?
Yeah.
Vern Gagne.
Vern Gagne, thank you. So yeah, I mean, Vern, he used to wrestle Thez on a weekly basis. So I mean, it's great to have any kind of that lineage from AWA at times.
Absolutely. And we have another gentleman joining us, Steve Kern.
So depending on where you remember him from, I remember him as Doink.
That's where I remember him as Doink the Clown.
He was definitely a great character back then. He wasn't the original Doink. The original Doink was like a sinister type of guy. But you can't take that character too long. So they put Steve in there and made him more of a friendly, clown that, he stuck around for a few more years because of that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk about some friends to SICW. Teddy Long and Mac Davis are coming back.
Teddy Long has probably, been a fan of SICW for a long time because they always talk about us. You can listen to their broadcast. They got a podcast out, and they talked about. I think they even had our referee Nick Ridenhauer on there.
Yep.
And they talked about last year's FanFest. So pay attention to their podcast. You might listen about this year.
It's called Road Trip After Hours, and rumor has it, as all these announcements were being made, they're cross-booking a lot of those guys to talk about what it's going to be like to head to St. Louis.
Wow,
so great plug right there, yes. and definitely something that they're looking at here in the future.
Yeah.
Another big guy, but also let me take that back. Big talent, little guy. Little Cato is coming.
Oh yeah. Yeah, anytime. That is entertainment right there.
Yep.
Not to take anything away from them, because what they do is athletic, and they're workhorses just like we are. But it's always fun to sit back and watch them go at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about a couple guys that are going to be joining us that helped make some of the legends they are. First one being Mario Mancini.
Yeah. So he was. I hate to use the word jobber back in the day, but that's what some people were. But you know what? You had a job. You went on the road with them. You got to do your work. You got to wrestle in front of crowds bigger than anyone else has seen. And he did his job, and he was known for his job, and that's why we're bringing him in.
Absolutely, and along with him, Paul Roma.
Now, so he's a little controversial type of guy, because did you like him in the Four Horsemen or did you not like him in the Four Horsemen? Some people think he didn't fit the bill, but he was always a classic guy, always dressed to the nines, just like Nate.
Yeah.
So you got to give him credit for there. But he also went to the WWF. Might have been the WWE at that point in time. So it all depends on where you know him from, but they say once a Four Horseman, always a Four Horseman. So,
well, let's talk about a guy that everybody's going to know and everybody's going to remember, The Godfather.
He's another one whose tagline I will not say here on this network. But man, The Godfather, just all the stories that have been told on social media with him and The Undertaker being best friends, and all the backstage antics that this guy's gotten into. And if you're ever in Vegas, which that's where the Cauliflower Alley Club is, you can always, go and meet him in one of his fine establishments.
Absolutely. Well, coming to join us, somebody that's making his return trip. He's been here one or two other times, but always great to have him back in SICW. That is none other than Tito Santana.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Don't Call Me Chico. Plug, that's his new book if you want to grab it. But Tito is a great guy. Very down to earth. We had him in not too long ago. And I tell you, just me and a select few wrestlers were just sitting in a circle. We were talking. He was talking about all the WrestleMania 3 and everything it took to put on his match then. He is just a great guy, down to earth, pleasant to be around and for you guys to meet.
Yeah. Another lady wrestler going to be joining us, popular from back in the day, Wendy Richter.
Man, if you were a WWF kid like I was, you know who that was. And then, they say that was probably the first screw job in the business, what happened to her, because, Moolah, she won that belt off of her. And then they Moolah was put in a mask, and Wendy was going to wrestle this person. They gave her another name. They said, "Hey, you're going to wrestle this person for the belt tonight." And then that person ended up being Moolah, ended up getting the pin and getting the victory. And it was she stole it basically. And eventually Wendy was able to take the mask off her and seen that it was Moolah. So they claim that as probably one of the first screw jobs in the wrestling business. Probably wasn't.
Probably the first for women's wrestling.
Probably the first for women's, yes. But pioneer of the women's division. I mean, you couldn't ask. I mean, back in the rock and roll days, when it was rock and wrestling, everyone knew who Wendy Richter was.
Absolutely. Those of us that make the frequent trips to Cauliflower Alley, and you definitely should join us. It's a great trip over there. We'll remember this next gentleman that's coming, Rock Riddle.
Rock Riddle. Please don't give him a microphone. No, I said he's a great guy. He's got a story for everything you can toss at him. But man, if you give him a microphone, you won't see that thing again. It's his, and he won't give it back.
Well, I saved, we'll call it the best for last. I saved it purposely for you because I think this is a man close to your heart. Stan the Lariat Hansen is going to be joining us.
Uncle Stan, that's what we got to call him from now on. Uncle Stan, man, him and Bruiser Brody going battling back and forth. They're totally big in Japan. They made a lot of money in Japan. The great thing about him is, not only did he teach me the lariat, however, the great story about his lariat is even better. Stan wore glasses back in the day, and if he didn't wear his glasses, he was pretty much blind. And so he had to throw that clothesline in there like it was going to kill you because he wanted to make sure you didn't get back up. So he threw it like he was going to hurt you as best as he could. So I mean, that's a great story, just knowing that he put everything into that clothesline because he couldn't see it. So he wanted to if he made contact, he was making sure you're going down.
Absolutely. So fans, the legends are there, and we're 6 months away, and we've already announced these 23 legends. It's going to be an incredible event. You need to go to SICW.org and get your tickets. Get your tickets for that Friday night VIP one-man show with Bill Apter. Very limited amount of tickets there. You need to get those right away. Get your FanFest tickets. Join us with that bundle pack to be there all day for the meet and greet with the legends, the Wrestling Hall of Fame induction, and then the Bruiser Brody Memorial Battle Royal and wrestling show that night. To be a part of this great event, there's also something we can do with sponsorships. Sponsorships are a great thing, and they're what help put events like this on. And we've already got some great sponsorships joining us for FanFest number 2 in Casey Insurance. Casey Insurance is signed on to be a sponsor of the FanFest.
I don't know about you, but if you're driving nowadays, you need to make sure you have insurance. So it's pretty popular to have.
Absolutely. The Nebraska Wrestling Hall of Fame will be joining us. They will be there bringing some of their memorabilia.
Oh. That's the great thing about Hall of Fames is they got the old school stuff like the Lou Thez belt, up in Iowa. I can't imagine what they're going to bring, so it's going to be a thrill.
One of the things I've seen is they have a cast of the Claw from Baron von Raschke.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Womack Action Figures rejoining us as a sponsor for this event. They will be there with us at FanFest 2. Another great organization, Mid-States Wrestling.
Yeah, so that was actually the name of the place that me and Attila went down and wrestled. He was going down there. I kind of swooped in through, I guess you would say, the back door and got that match set up. Of course, that match didn't go anywhere because it ended up being a big old brawl and like 20 people came out and pulled us apart and everything. But yeah, that's a great organization too if you ever, ever down that way.
Yep. The Genesis TV network has signed on for a sponsor in FanFest number 2.
That's cool.
And then the last group so far is called SIGs from the Bigs.
No, of course, yeah.
And the sponsorships are just going to get bigger. They're just going to get better. Contact promoter Herb Simmons, contact us here on SICW Wrestling, and we will get you what you need to know to sign up to be a sponsor for FanFest #2.
And just think, if you're a sponsor, you're helping get another legend in the door. So, anytime that you can be part of this great event, this is only the second one, but the first one was so big. It's like, please, sponsors, come on board because we want to see some more legends.
Yep. And, Champ, it was signed this week. The first match has been announced for FanFest #2.
Is it me?
It's not.
Oh.
We're going to start it off with a ladies match.
Oh, okay.
The Bad Street Beauty, Miranda Gordy, is taking on the gamer, Tadovec.
I don't know much about her, but Miranda Gordy, I know a lot about her. And she is just like her old man. She was tough. I've seen her take on, 2 people at the same time.
She just did that at the Missouri Athletic Club.
She sure did, yeah.
And came out victorious.
Yeah, she's one tough broad.
So the first match has been signed for FanFest 2. You got to join us here each and every Sunday night at 8 o'clock to find out what the next ones, the big announcements that are coming. The way you can do that, join us each and every Sunday night. Make sure you visit SICW.org to get tickets, and make sure you visit SICW.org. Click that link to reserve your hotel room. That is the only way you can get that special block of rooms reserved for FanFest 2 at a discount price. So get on there before that block gets full and we run out of those rooms, because they're selling rooms every day to that event. And with it being a 2-day event now, you're going to want somewhere to lay your head for a couple hours Friday night into Saturday.
Man, I tell you, as soon as I heard that Herb was doing another FanFest, I was immediately on the phone calling and reserving my rooms. Because I was smart. I almost didn't get a room last time, and I was the champion. Well, soon to be champion.
Yeah, you walked out of there the champion. How's that? Well, fans, it's great to be with you here each and every Sunday night, and we'd be remiss if we didn't take a brief moment here and take a look at some classic wrestling from the days of wrestling at the Chase. Let's take a look.
The first main event, a one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Introducing from Knoxville, Tennessee, weighing 230 pounds, Ron Sexton. From Kansas City, Missouri, weighing 254 pounds, World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race. Referee Lee Warren.
The world champion, Harley Race, squares off with Ron Sexton. And everybody in the studio is still buzzing about what Dusty Rhodes did and about what Dusty Rhodes had to say. I'll tell you one thing I got out of it, and I think he's absolutely correct. There's a big love affair starting here between Dusty Rhodes and all the many thousands of fans that enjoy wrestling, because Dusty Rhodes is just something different, something special, something unique. And I'm sure that Harley Race in the ring now against Ron Sexton and Ted DiBiase, who'll be squaring off for the World Heavyweight Championship, know full well that Dusty Rhodes is going to be right there staring one of them in the eye. Of course, it's going to be a little bit crowded because there's going to be people like Ric Flair and Ken Patera and Dick the Bruiser and Rocky Johnson and Jack Briscoe and Kerry Von Erich and Dick Murdoch and so many more staring whoever has that gold belt in the eye. You can bet on it. Of course, you know Ted DiBiase is the Missouri State Champion, and it bears mentioning that if Ted DiBiase, as you watch Race slam Sexton, if Ted DiBiase dethrones Race as the world champion, Sexton, let's race for a body slam. Well, tit for tat from Ron Sexton. Arm drag by Sexton. If Race is knocked off the world throne by Ted DiBiase, DiBiase will have to relinquish the Missouri State title. The Missouri crown would then be vacant, and promoter Sam Muchnick would probably come up with a tournament of some sort involving a number of top wrestlers to fill that vacancy, to come up with a new Missouri State champion. I don't think I'll ask Harley Race if he would be in that tournament. I'm sure Race would say, I have no intention of needing to be in any tournament. Race throws Sexton away. Flying tackle. Oh, he doesn't get to deliver it because Race had that knee up in the air and drops Sexton with a high knee lift. Race, such a savvy ring general. Always knows where he is, what he's doing. Race yanks Sexton down to the mat, slamming him backwards and down. Race lining up Sexton, who took a hard spill. Knee drop right to the head by Race on Sexton. Sexton rolling in misery after taking that hard knee right to the forehead. Race drives Sexton head first into the top turnbuckle. Race pushing Sexton into that corner. Hard left cross by the world heavyweight champion Harley Race. He's right up there in the class with people like Strangler Lewis and Luthez when it comes to winning that gold belt. There aren't many who have been better, if any. Atomic knee drop by Race on Ron Sexton, jamming the tailbone down into his own knee. That will make that entire backbone tingle. Race covers Sexton. Sexton throws Race off. Race in early command against Sexton. Sexton tries to retreat, but the world champion's right on top of him. Harley Race looking sharp and tough and mean today. He's pounding on Sexton. A punch to the head knocks Sexton through the ropes and out of the ring. Sexton knocked right out of the ring by the world champion Harley Race. You talk about tough, you start with the world champion Harley Race. Race outside the ring after Sexton. Race grabs Sexton, and he tried to shove Sexton into that ring post. Sexton, though, pushed Race forward, and it was Race who collided with the steel ring post. A good move, maybe made in desperation by Sexton, but it buys him some time, and now Sexton trying to get to Race while Race tries to regain his bearings outside the ring. Maybe Mr. Race got a bit too cocky against Sexton, started to count him out when Ron Sexton still had plenty of spunk and fire left. Race bides his time getting back into that ring. He caught that post right in the shoulder. Loosens the shoulder up. Waits for Sexton to come to him. Sexton reaches inside and catches Race with a forearm smash. A second one. A third forearm smash by Ron Sexton. A knee lift. And down goes Race. Flying elbow drop by Sexton. He covers the world champion. Sexton thrown off by Race. And then Sexton hooks the arm of the world champion. Sexton twisting back on the left arm of Harley Race. There's a guy who came up the hard way. He's the exception that proves the rule, really, because so many guys now in professional wrestling are coming out of college with that tremendous 8-9 year amateur background, starting way back in high school, even junior high school. But Race came up the hard way. He was wrestling professionally when he was just a teenager. He took his lumps. Believe me, nobody took more beatings than Harley Race did in the first 4 or 5 years of his career. But slowly, surely, he learned the business. He learned what he could do. He learned what his body could take, and that body got harder every time out.
5 minutes have expired, 5 minutes left.
Today, I doubt there's anything that can happen inside a wrestling ring that hasn't happened to Race or he hasn't made happen. Side saddle suplex by Harley Race. He's been through the mill. He's paid his dues. And that's why that gold belt is so valuable to him. Ted DiBiase knows what it means to Harley Race as Race locks both arms of Sexton behind him and then takes him to the air with a suplex. The double arm suplex by Harley Race. Race lines up Sexton, poises that knee and bangs it into the head of Sexton. That is such a potent weapon of Harley Race. And of course you see things that Race started, that Race was the first to do and many other wrestlers have copied. Some do it maybe as well, but none do it better than Harley Race. And there he is with Sexton up in the air. The suplex, poising him, making sure that he has full balance, full might, and he crashes Sexton backwards with that suplex. The world champion covers Sexton. Sexton isn't going anywhere. Harley Race pounding down and putting away Ron Sexton in fine fashion. He looks sharp. He is ready. Ted DiBiase, take note. That man is ready to defend the gold belt with his whole heart and being. Here's Mickey.
In 6 minutes and 2 seconds with the suplex, the winner, World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race.
Well, fans, there you have it. A great night of wrestling entertainment. Lots of talk about what's coming up in the future. And where do you find out about the latest and greatest information?
Oh, SICW.org, man.
SICW.org, and right here every Sunday night, 8 p.m. on SICW All-Star Wrestling. We will continue to bring you this every Sunday night at 8 p.m., leading us on the road to FanFest number 2. We hope to see all of you on Saturday, January 13th, when SICW returns to the Belclair Fairgrounds for that big cage match that's been signed, Attila Khan versus the Night Train, Gary Jackson.
I got my money on Gary.
All right. Well, fans, until next Sunday night, for the SICW champion, the Big Texan, we thank you for joining us, and we will see you next Sunday.